Every year, hundreds of British soldiers travel to a remote corner of Wales. They are not ordinary soldiers. They are paratroopers, Marines, infantry veterans, men who have already proven themselves in combat, in training, in years of service. And yet, most of them will fail. Not because they aren't strong enough, not because they aren't brave enough. They will fail because the SAS is not looking for the best soldiers. It is looking for something far more difficult to find: the Special Air Service. Founded in 1941 in the deserts of North Africa, originally a small raiding force designed to operate deep behind enemy lines, far from support, far from orders, far from anyone who could tell them what to do next. That original concept has never changed. Today, the SAS operates in the shadows of modern conflict: counterterrorism, hostage rescue, long-range reconnaissance, and advising allied forces around the world. Their headquarters is a place called Stirling Lines in Herefordshire, England. To the outside world, it looks like any other military base. Inside, it is one of the most selective institutions on the planet. The regiment consists of 3 units: 22 SAS, the regular full-time force, and 21 and 23 SAS, the reserve components, open to civilians with the right qualities. But before anyone earns the right to wear the beige beret and the winged dagger, they must pass selection. Selection begins in the Brecon Beacons, a mountain range in South Wales, cold, wet, unforgiving. For the first 3 weeks, candidates are pushed through a series of timed marches across the hills, alone, with a Bergen rucksack weighing up to 25 kilograms, navigating by map and compass. No GPS, no team, no one to ask for help. The instructors, known as the DS, the directing staff, do not shout. They do not motivate. They do not tell candidates whether they are passing or failing. They simply watch. Because that is the point. The SAS needs soldiers who can function under complete uncertainty, who can make decisions when no one is giving them direction, when they don't know if they're ahead or behind, when the weather turns and the map stops making sense. The mountain phase culminates in what is known as endurance, or more commonly, the fan dance. A 24-kilometer march over Pen y Fan, the highest peak in the Beacons, carrying full kit. It must be completed within a strict time limit. Many candidates who make it this far, veterans, decorated soldiers, men who have served in combat, do not finish. Historically, somewhere between 10 and 15% of candidates pass selection. That number has stayed roughly consistent for decades. The question people always ask is, why? If these are already elite soldiers, why do so many fail? The answer, according to former SAS members who have written and spoken openly about their experience, is almost never physical. Candidates who fail on fitness usually don't make it past the first week. The deeper failures happen later. They happen when a candidate, exhausted, lost, behind schedule, makes a decision driven by panic rather than logic. They happen when someone desperate to finish takes a shortcut that costs them time instead of saving it. They happen when a man who has led soldiers in battle finds that without his rank, without his team, without the familiar structure of military hierarchy, he doesn't know who he is. The Brecon Beacons strip everything away, and what remains, that is what the SAS is actually testing. Those who pass the mountains move on to the jungle phase, traditionally conducted in Belize or Brunei, though the specific location has varied over the years. Here, the environment changes completely. Heat instead of cold, dense vegetation instead of open hills, a completely different set of navigation challenges. The jungle phase tests adaptability. Can a candidate who performed well in Wales adjust quickly to a totally different environment? Can they retain discipline and judgment when every physical instinct is screaming at them to stop? For many candidates, it is here that the psychological strain becomes too great. Not because the jungle is harder than the mountains, but because by this point, they have been under sustained pressure for weeks. The accumulated weight of uncertainty, never knowing if you're good enough, never receiving feedback, breaks people who the mountains could not. The final stage is continuation training. This is where candidates begin learning the actual skills of the SAS: patrol tactics, demolitions, signals, combat medicine, resistance to interrogation. It ends with SERE training: survive, evade, resist, escape. Candidates are hunted across open countryside by trained pursuers. If caught, and most are, They are subjected to a period of simulated interrogation, sleep deprivation, stress positions, psychological pressure. The rules are strict, candidates are protected, but the experience is designed to replicate, as closely as possible, what capture by a hostile force might actually feel like. It is the final filter, because the SAS sends small teams into environments where capture is a real possibility, and the regiment needs to know with absolute certainty that its soldiers will not break. So what is the SAS actually looking for? Not the fastest, not the strongest, not even the most experienced. They are looking for a specific combination of qualities that is genuinely rare. The physical resilience to keep moving when the body wants to stop. The mental clarity to make good decisions when exhausted and alone. The emotional stability to function under sustained uncertainty, for weeks, for months, potentially for an entire career. And perhaps most importantly, the absence of ego. The SAS operates in small teams, in environments where one person's mistake can end multiple lives. There is no room for the soldier who needs to be seen to be performing. There is no room for the officer who can't set aside his rank and follow someone else's lead. Selection doesn't build these qualities, it finds them. Every year the process repeats. Hundreds arrive in Wales. A small number, a very small number, walk out the other side. What they have passed is not simply a physical test. It is one of the most sophisticated human assessment processes ever developed, refined over 80 years of operational experience, shaped by the hard lessons of real missions in real conflicts. The 90% who fail are not weak. They are simply not quite what the SAS needs. And in a unit where every mission depends on every member, that distinction matters more than anything else. If you found this analysis valuable, the next video in this series examines how France's GIGN was forged by one of the most dramatic hostage crises of the 20th century. Subscribe, and we'll see you there.